Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have a bunch of stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. These are nice and quick stories and I'd love to hear your comments after each one. So do me a favor and comment down below. And if you're listening on the podcast, well, you gotta jump over to YouTube and comment down below. This story comes to us from Bailey the Nerd. Dryer finds are mine, 8-year-old versus dad. In eons past, I was once a youth. Growing up, my parents were pretty big on teaching their best and only child how to do things himself. This, in parent speak, meant that I was taught chores very young. I have been helping do laundry, dishes, the lawn, and cleaning since early elementary school. We all took care of the laundry, doing everyone else's along with ours when needed. So there were rules in place. Any change found in the dryer became the property of the person unloading the dryer. 8-year-old Bailey was extremely distraught one day to find that my fortune of $10 whole had gone through the wash and was claimed out of the dryer by my dad. I was furious. I demanded back the $10. But my lovely dad reminded me of the rules. It was his to keep, fair game. At this point, I decided that I would be the only person to unload the dryer. My parents were very pleasantly surprised that for months they never had to pull out the clothes and start the folding process, since I'd just grab the laundry and fold while binging Cartoon Network. Eventually, what started as a desperate attempt to guard my various petty treasures gave way to the perfect opportunity for malicious compliance. You see, this was the very early 2000s. My dad wasn't yet keen on keeping all his cash on cards, so he kept most of his money in cash. On this particular day, he left $200 in his pocket, and doing the laundry meant that it was mine. All mine. I silently stuffed the cash in my tiny coin bank in my room, pleased with my lucrative haul. Eventually, my dad discovered that he was short a large sum of money and tore apart his office and bedroom looking for it, before he recalled that he had left it in his jeans pocket. Despite my subtlety, I was quickly confronted. The rule was rescinded and I was only allowed to keep $50. But again, to an 8-year-old, this was a king's ransom. I had emerged mostly victorious. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Pattycake. It says, "Your dad should have taken the lesson and let you keep it all. Totally unfair. I'm glad you at least got more than your $10 back, and I hope you stopped unloading the dryer now that the rule was gone." Another commenter down below called TechNot said, "Don't you love it when those responsible for your training in society teach you that you can't trust authority, because they'll change the rules on you to support their own agenda. Rules for thee, not for me." Opie responded to this one and said, "He did impress that lesson. He also taught me it's harder to change written rules on the fly, and I am now a master of cover your butt." Opie, I think you should remind your dad of those $10 that he took from you previously. Remember you were furious about it? And tell him, well, if we use the same ratio of what I get to keep out of what I found, then you owe me $7.50 back on my $10. It's only fair, Dad, because you're the one that changed the rules. This story comes to us from Big Coconuts. Wedding Snackdown. I was attending my cousin's daughter's wedding. There was a snack bar at the entry area, and lots of guests were congregating there, eating and chatting. Few people were getting through to the seating area, so my cousin asked me to get the snack bar shut down. I went there and told the people there to close it down. They said they would do it immediately after serving the people waiting. Okay. I headed back and told my cousin it would be closed in a couple of minutes. He's worried and says, "No, I meant immediately. They have to shut down immediately." Alrighty then. I went back to them. They had already shut down. I went back and told my cousin with a straight face, there were 4 people there. I knocked the plates out of their hands and told them to walk inside. I told them you told me to do it. Shocked Pikachu face. My cousin is a great guy, but he does get a bit worked up sometimes over the small stuff. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Gosh Doodly Doo. It says, That's hilarious. Hopefully he settled down after that story, but he might not ask you to do something in the future, so it's a win-win. OP responded to this one and said, after some time, he realized that I was kidding, but those few seconds were precious. I don't get why they couldn't have just made an announcement. I'm assuming they had a DJ or a PA system or something there. They could have just said, okay people, let's move along. We've got a bottleneck and people can't get inside. Really easy to make an announcement. I do like the way that OP handled this one though. It would put a lot more stress on them on that big day. Oh, why not? This story comes to us from Sell a Life. Extra, extra caramel. I was at coffee shop and yesterday was one I will forever be grateful to my manager for. A customer came through ordering a blended beverage. Said beverage was modified to the point of being not even remotely what the original drink was. Can I also preface this by saying that the drink was ordered at drive-thru with the child screaming into the headphones the whole time, and the customer did nothing to calm the child, just spoke louder. So when customer drives up, the drink with multiple modifications was missing one. It was a topping that was easily added on top, but the customer wanted the whole drink remade. Why, I asked, as we had a line and I had more drinks to get to. The answer was, it didn't have enough caramel drizzle. Now, the drink doesn't come with caramel drizzle, it was ordered with extra caramel, and I did put a ton on the top as well as put caramel around the cup, which is already extra. I was told they wanted extra extra, so I coated the inside of the new cup. The caramel was so thick you couldn't see the drink. I also added a 1/4 inch to the bottom just in case, and added extra of the other toppings requested and gave half a container of it on the side per my manager's instruction. Now, this was my third to final drink I made cause it was my day off and I came in to help, and the time I agreed to stay to was past, and the second time I agreed to stay to was also past. I was doing one last task of wiping down the cafe and clocking out. In comes the customer. Customer is so angry, cause customer said they didn't deserve to have an employee get mad and fill their cup with half syrup. Manager tells them, well, what did you want? You got extra caramel, it wasn't enough, and you got extra extra, and it was too much. You're gonna have to explain what you are wanting. I love my manager. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Throwaway Old Guy. It says, I would really like to see more businesses start firing customers that pull these kinds of stunts. Here's the menu, no substitutions, no ifs, ands, or buts. Another commenter down below called Duffel Bag Pete said, managers should tell them they refuse service to that customer at this location permanently. OP responded and said, I loved my manager's response, it was perfect. Manager has fired a customer before for foul language, so it's not unheard of at my store. The customer literally caused a stink in the drive-thru holding up other customers because they wanted extra extra caramel, and then when they got it they came in to complain. Yep, that's a customer you could fire. But you know corporate won't see it that way because you make that customer happy this once and they'll keep coming back and spending money at your store, even though they're a giant douchebag about it. It's kind of a lose-lose situation. This story comes to us from Imaginary Weird 6027. Oh, you want it spicy? We had a regular guest that came into a restaurant I used to work at every day. Every day he complained that his dish was not spicy enough, and every day we remade it the same way and gave it to him. I had enough and invested in some ghost pepper sauce. Next day, dude comes in, we make his order, it is not hot enough, so I remake his order myself and use the entire bottle of ghost pepper sauce in it. We pointed and giggled as we watched him turn 40 shades of red while he ate. He was clearly suffering and finally admitted defeat and did not finish his meal. Be careful what you ask for. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called No Crimps. It says, so the guest wants a dish spicier and you continue making it the same spice level every day? Sounds like you are bad at your job. I kind of have the same point to make on this one as I did on the last one. This was a regular customer, and they had a pretty normal request about making their food spicier. And then OP went and did the whole ghost pepper thing, which, by the way, could have severely injured the customer. I don't know, I don't feel like this one is a win. I feel like OP was a bit of a dick. What do you all think on this one? Comment down below. And if you're listening on the podcast, well, go on to YouTube at KCC and comment down below. This story comes to us from Brew3017. A friend charged a tow fee because he wouldn't trust my automotive knowledge. Back in the early 2000s, my friend and I were at a bowling alley. As we went out to leave, he couldn't get his car started. I asked if he wanted me to look at it since I have been working on cars since I was 14. And he said no, that he knows as much if not more about cars than I do. So the tow truck arrived, they asked me to steer as they pushed it out of the parking spot. I got in, put it in park, started the vehicle, backed it out, and asked the tow truck driver if he wanted me to drive it onto his flatbed or if he wanted to pull it up. Everyone, including the tow truck driver, burst out in laughter. My friend was livid. Why didn't you tell me that was the problem? I said, you told me you were more experienced than me and didn't need my help. From then on, he never doubted my automotive knowledge. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Barely Lethal 10. It says, it took me 2 reads to figure out what even happened. I felt dumb, but not nearly as dumb as your friend must have. Okay, let's be honest here. I had to read this one a couple times myself to figure out what happened, and I was a tow truck driver at one point. But then you find out that the car just wasn't in park and it needed to be in order to be started. This story comes to us from Used Register 3714. You can't remember? Pay me to remind you. Not sure if this is the right place, but also new to Reddit. But I needed to vent. Sorry for the wall of text. My manager oversees 16-ish people. Completely forgot that I had PTO one morning last week. We had spoken about it the day before too, because I had to change the time of my doctor's appointment. The morning of my appointment, I wasn't going to clock in till I got back. However, when I got back, I found out that he had assigned me to cover part of someone's shift, call center, because they were out sick. I had him asking in our group chat for me to call him and also DMing me in the same chat we used to discuss the time of my appointment changing for where I was. The person who oversees that the phones are covered messaging me telling me I was to be on the phones, and my manager's boss texting me asking where I was. I finally called my manager, video call, and I recorded that too, and reminded him that we had spoken about the time of my appointment being in the morning. He then asked me to text him reminders every time I have PTO now. Well, he's about to learn. I have 2 more days coming up in April, and I will clock in for 15 minutes each day to send that reminder text. If I have to do his job of reminding him I am off, when there are multiple ways for him to remember, then they can pay me. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called BorpABC. It says, he plays stupid? Act like he's stupid. Every time from now on when you get PTO or anything, use the occasion to explain to your boss what a calendar is, how it works, and gasp, they have those online now. OP, depending on where you live, you might actually be able to get 3 hours of pay every time you do something work-related that your boss has told you to do when you're not scheduled on shift. That's how it works here in Ontario, Canada, but I'm not sure about other places. This story comes to us from Vextail Brook. I did as they asked, so what's the issue? I was 5 years old when my mom went into the store, in which before she left she told me not to unlock the door nor open it for anyone. I waited for her to get back by playing with my cat named Snuggles McCuddles Fluffy Pants for I forget how long. In turn, when mom returned from the store, I continued playing with my cat, completely ignoring my mom each time she asked me, "Can you please unlock and open the door?" because she left the key to our house in the kitchen, which she was getting really extremely mad while shouting at me, "Just unlock and open the door already, else I'll effing ground you." until my sister, 12 years at the time, had unlocked the door for mom. Then, a few minutes after my mom calmed down, she asked me, "Why didn't you unlock and open the door for me when I asked you to?" In which that's when I simply stated, with a sweet little smile on my child face, "Well, you said to not unlock the door nor open it for anyone, and that's what I did, Mom." Resulting in my stepdad snickering at this. All the while, my mom just stood there speechless, as if trying to process what I'd said. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called Rashu. It says, "So sister and stepdad were home, but didn't open the door either?" Okay, commenter, I mean, come on. Didn't you hear the way that she was shouting at them to open the door? I think they were just playing it up as long as they could. Besides, with an attitude like that, would you want to let her in? This story comes to us from ActiveAd5869. Company wants us to bring our own workwear? Any logo? I work for a courier company which hires employees as independent contractors to skimp out on paying tax and benefits. I work diligently, but I lost any goodwill towards them for the aforementioned reasons. They also require us to wear high-vis clothing while delivering. We pride ourselves on next-day delivery. One courier can deliver up to 50 different businesses in one day. The way deliveries work is that the sender hires us to deliver to the receiver. The receiver has no clue which company was hired to deliver it to them. The only way the receiver would know would be by looking at our uniform. I live in an area where it frequently gets cold and windy. I have a waterproof high-vis jacket, but there's one catch. It has my old company's logo on it. As I already lost all goodwill towards my current employer, I just wore that. I have been delivering for my current company for the past 3 years, and in that time, I've had countless receivers remark on how good and speedy my company is. I've even seen a few reviews for my old company from business clients I've delivered to in the capacity of my current employer. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, there's one from a user called AJ Clements. It says, "Well, since you don't actually work for them anyway, start your own company and get a jacket with your company's name and logo. Build goodwill against that name. When enough reputation is built up, change from a subcontractor to a full-on competitor. Hire all your coworkers just for extra fun, and actually hire them." You know, this is actually a really good idea to get a business off of the ground. If the company doesn't care what logo's on your jacket, then definitely set up your own. It's a really quick way to build credibility, and you're doing that job already. Build up some money, get your own trucks, start your own company, you'll already have a reputation. That is perfect, OP, and you should get right on that. This story comes to us from Quigley. We're not allowed to say it? Okay. Years ago, I worked in the prep kitchen for a small chain of restaurants. For background, when you pick up a knife in a restaurant kitchen, you're supposed to say "sharp" pretty loudly, so that other people rushing around know someone is walking around with a knife. Anyway, we had two kinds of knives, large chef knives and paring knives. There were only a few paring knives, not enough for everyone to have one at their station. At some point, one of my coworkers started referring to the knives as sharps, and so I started calling the paring knives baby sharps, and it caught on. This led to people across the room asking, "Who's got a baby sharp?" Now my boss was a massive bee. She, for some reason unknown, didn't like us calling the paring knives baby sharps, and said so on a few occasions, but nobody cared. To be clear, nobody ever said or sang baby sharp do or anything like that. Well, one day, she was in a particularly bad mood and yelled at us, "Nobody is allowed to say baby sharp anymore." Cue Malicious Compliance. That afternoon, I went home and photoshopped a little cartoon face, bonnet, pacifier, and diaper onto an image of a paring knife. I took the image to a custom print shop and had them print it onto a baseball cap. We were required to wear hats at work to keep stray hairs from falling into the food. I only worked there a couple months after this because I found a better job, but you better believe I wore that baby sharp hat to work the next day, and then every day for the remainder of my time there. The boss never said anything to me about it, but I know it pissed her off. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Squid52. It says, "Once my toddler started crying and yelling, 'My shart! My shart!' Anyhow, it turns out he wanted in the knife drawer and was mad I'd locked it. I guess I always said no sharp, so he called knives sharts for about a year. In case you need an alternative word to use." Oh no. Oh no. Baby shark poo 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 poo. Did you know every single KCC video is also produced in podcast form? You can search for Karma Comment Chameleon on every major podcasting platform. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.